sitting here and being cold. I can't believe it's the area covered.
It's going to be a big bill by the time we're done.
We're in.
Our area has never seen a storm like it, the ice storm of 1991. Good evening, and thanks for joining us.
In the next hour, we're going to do what many of you called in and asked us to do, show our special coverage of this ice storm. We will take you back in time, beginning with Sunday night, as the freezing rain was falling in our homes, trees, and power lines. And we'll end with the latest on the storm aftermath. At this very minute, as we are coming to you live, there are many, many people still without power.
And now let's start with Sunday. Meteorologist John Hamilton had to say when he began his 11 p.m. weathercast.
This is going to be the winter storm. We have missed, you know, the bullet. And this time, snow lovers are getting cheated. We would probably have 10 inches to a foot of snow if it was all snow. Unfortunately, it is freezing rain and sleet.
And so we went to sleep. Even with that warning, no one knew how bad this storm was going to be. When we woke up, ice was everywhere. Here's how we covered the storm in a special one-hour edition of News Team 10 at 6. Giant slabs of ice falling down onto Chase Lincoln Square. Trees down. Power out. Ice has covered our community. Dramatic rescues and bad accidents. Team coverage of the ice storm is next on News Team 10.
From WHEC TV, this is Rochester's News Team with Janet Lomax, Gabe Delmuth, meteorologist John Hamilton with live Rochester Doppler radar, and Rich Funky on sports. This is News Team 10.
A state of emergency remains in effect tonight. It's situations like this one that are making our area a very dangerous place. Good evening, Janet's off tonight.
It's one of the worst storms ever to hit this area. We have extended News Team 10 team coverage to include a live update from RG&E Command Center. Hundreds of thousands are without power. David Biggie on the widespread damage. And Vanessa Tyler reports on the state of emergency and what that means.
First, Gabe, here's the latest assessment on the number of homes still without electricity. Rochester Gas and Electric estimates 150,000 customers without power. Niagara Mohawk has an additional 80,000 homes in the dark. 2,500 homes are without power in the Fairport Electric District, and New York State Gas and Electric in the Southern Tier reports an additional 15,000 customers without power.
It seems the suburbs around Rochester took the brunt of the damage from the storm.
All day, reporter David Biggie and photographer Pat Campbell surveyed the damage. They saw how the storm affected property and people.
In Webster, the storm damage was unforgiving. On each road, at every block, cars and homes were draped in an icy prison. On Creek Street, motorists ignored the warnings and weaved through fallen power lines. Others drove across front lawns. Residents said it felt like chaos.
The cars were coming and stopping, and I thought they had the roads blocked both sides. Here's what's going to happen. If this comes this way, boy.
Our crews responded where they could, but for every job completed, 2 others popped up. Volunteer fire and ambulance squads had their hands full, too.
It's difficult to tell. We got lines down. We got 140 people who want the basement pumped out.
Oh, you guys do that?
Well, we're not pumping any basements right now until the power comes back on because it doesn't do us any good.
On Embry Street, 80-year-old Clifford Cochran was taken to Rochester General after he fell on debris in his front yard.
I've never seen anything like this.
Back on Creek Street, David Hines worried about his 200-year-old elm. After 2 centuries, this storm brought the mighty tree down.
What was going through your mind as you heard the noises and the sound? Well, I just was wondering if the tree was going to come through the house. You know, the kids were sleeping upstairs, so we just got them downstairs and just hoping that it didn't hit the car or come through the house.
Pretty scary time for you.
Oh, yeah. It was a sleepless night.
There were also problems in basements where many residents woke up to several feet of water.
The basement's flooded and, you know, no heat and everything, so still a lot of damage, too, to pick up afterwards, so yeah, it's just starting, I think.
Well, it's a big pain in the tail end, I'd say. It's going to take a long time to get sorted out, I'm sure.
In Irondequoit, more problems. On Walser Road, Larry Milligan awoke to find a tree sharing space with his family.
Oh, this is, well, really, it's quite pretty, but I've never seen a mess like this. I remember the ice storm in 76 or 77, nothing like this. This is a disaster. First thing we thought of it was Baghdad.
It may not be Baghdad, but it sure felt like a war zone with things so out of control, almost beyond control. David Biggie, News Team 10.
Let's take a look at a dangerous scene downtown earlier. This is Lincoln First Tower. You see the giant slabs of ice falling hundreds of feet. The tower was closed, as were many of the businesses downtown. One window was broken, but luckily no one was hurt. The ice appears to have been an inch thick. Another example of the danger of being outside today, this is Post Avenue on the city's west side. A 75-year-old woman, identified as Jean Cushman, was struck in the head by a tree limb. She was helping neighbors pull branches off the street. Many city-sized streets, which enjoy a canopy of shade in the summertime, look like war zones, as David mentioned. Jean Cushman is in satisfactory condition at Highland Hospital.
And believe me, this was just the beginning. When our special continues, we'll show you what was going on at the 911 center.
You have wires down in your backyard? ASAP fire check. What's your callback number, sir? Sir, well, you can't call every 5 minutes, okay? We're in a state of emergency, and as soon as someone's available.
City Fire. And we'll take you inside the RG&E Command Center, where it was just as busy. And later we'll show you what the storm looked like from the air. The county executive surveying the damage. This is a News Team 10 special, the ice storm. Welcome back to our special program on the ice storm. We're still taking a look at last Monday, the first day we saw the damage.
Other highlights, a state of emergency was declared in Monroe County, along with Livingston, Ontario, Wayne, Genesee, Yates, and Orleans counties. Mail was not delivered. At one point, some thruway entrances were closed, and the calls to the 911 center and RG&E would not stop.
Sir, we'll get somebody there right away.
ASAP fire check. 911 center.
Welcome to the busiest place in the county today.
City Fire!
If you had an emergency, chances are you called here, you and everybody else.
Sir, well, you can't call every 5 minutes, okay? We're in a state of emergency, and as soon as someone's available.
The state of emergency kept police, fire, ambulance, and 911 operators without a moment to take a breath.
We've been handling 2,000 calls an hour since before midnight. 2,000 calls an hour. What's your average? We average around 2,000 calls a day this time of year. What's that? That's the number of calls waiting to be answered, but we do not have someone available to handle it this time.
If you want to know where county leaders were all day, this was it. The Office of Emergency Preparedness was fully staffed first thing this morning. Officials manned phones. Every police department was represented. Many double-staffed on the streets. Even the sheriff handled calls.
Never have I seen anything quite like this.
I think the worst part when this is over is going to be that it's going to look like a different community, unfortunately, than it did before. The biggest problem in the middle of it is to make sure we get those trees, the fallen trees, out of the way and get traffic and movement restored.
By late this afternoon, officials were still here. This briefing aired live on News Team 10.
As night falls, the biggest needs will be for heat and electricity. To that end, shelters have been set up county-wide, like this one at MCC, run by the Red Cross. People can come here for the comforts of home, since many homes in our area are cold and dark.
We just received a call from a group home that's concerned about what they'll do with the residents in the group home as night comes on and it's getting colder.
Even keeping warm became dangerous.
Are the children conscious at the time?
Back at the frantic 911 center, this call from a family who tried to warm the children in the car while in a closed garage. Carbon monoxide poisoning is suspected.
The children are out on the lawn at this time? Are they breathing?
They expect to stay this busy all night.
You got a tree down where?
As the state of emergency continues. Vanessa Tyler, News Team 10.
Most emergency calls involve two words, wires down.
And in neighborhood after neighborhood, the question people asked each other, do you have power? Ray Lovato is standing by live at RG&E's command center. Ray?
Laura, Gabe, those who are watching us tonight are either in one of those rare unaffected areas or have a battery-powered TV. But a good number of people are not tuned in because they are still without electricity. And the task of getting them back on is monumental.
The call started about 11 last night and just kept coming by the hundreds. By morning, the magnitude of the problem was clear. The worst ice storm in anybody's memory. On Ogden Center Road, 7 poles had come down.
Here, like in most areas, the storm presents a paradox. The almost eerie, surreal beauty of the ice-encased branches giving way under the weight of the ice, sounding like crackling gunfire. On the other hand, the devastation is very real.
Miles of wires were down or drooping under the weight of the ice and tree limbs. Dozens of intersections still did not have working traffic lights. To augment its own line crews, RG&E is bringing in 39 emergency crews from 5 other utilities.
It's kind of a hassle getting up there. Once you get up there, it's not a real big job, but getting up the pole, yeah.
Jack Jackling and John Vanderkamp, like other crews, worked 16 hours straight. Here, a 34,000-volt transmission line taken out when a neutral or ground wire came down. This line from the Russell station takes power to substations where distribution lines then bring the electricity to homes. One line, hundreds of dark houses.
With me now is RG&E spokesman Mike Power. Some customers restored tonight, but the vast majority not till tomorrow and after?
Very few customers probably, in all frankness, will be restored tonight, and very few tomorrow. This is going to be a very long one, unfortunately. More than likely end of the week before the last few people get on.
There was no room at the inn on Monday. Almost every hotel and motel around here was full. This was the scene at the Holiday Inn downtown, which was sold out. Dogs and kids roaming about the lobby as families checked in to keep warm. For many without power, the hotel was the only answer.
The house was getting colder, and the kids were sick last week, so I didn't want them in a cold house. Family, we could have gone there, but I think the house is already filled up.
And some folks who could not get a room in town had to travel out of town. I had to do that. My family spent the night in Buffalo because of no rooms here and because of the cold.
Candles, generators, battery-powered radios and TVs. Did you have all those items in your house before the storm? If the answer is no, you weren't alone. Wendy Rye took a look at that problem in our Monday 11 o'clock newscast.
No, ma'am, we're all out of generators.
This is what people at Duran's Rental are saying to hundreds of callers. And for those customers stopping by, this sign tells the story. No gas pumps, generators, batteries, kerosene, or propane heaters are left.
No generators, no gas pumps.
Any idea where I can get one?
No, not really. About everyone has exhausted their supplies.
The store supply was gone within 1 hour today. Only a few chainsaws were returned by the end of the day. It saved one generator for itself. Store manager Jack Anderson says the last time he ran out of stock was almost 25 years ago.
We're basically out of anything gasoline-powered. However, they can continue to try and call us because some of the things do come and go.
Generators aren't the only thing selling out. People are also trying to keep warm by starting fires. But at Wegmans, the shelves for fireplace logs are virtually empty.
Mary Patch of Fairport was lucky to get some logs and other supplies before they disappeared.
I am buying meat I can cook on a barbecue grill, Pine Mountain logs to keep our family room warm. I have bread and cold cuts and some milk I'm going to have to keep out on the deck. That's it. It's just to keep us surviving.
And at this crowded store, ice, candles, and batteries are also checking out fast.
I guess they'll be all right.
The batteries are practically sold out.
I believe we got C, I don't think we have any more needs, sir.
But Wegmans and Duran's both expect more supplies to become available and are asking customers to hang in there and be patient. Wendy Wright, News Team 10.
And a reminder, some of us are still in need of those items because the power has not been restored.
Bought a generator, but still stocking up on batteries ourselves. When our special on the ice storm continues, we'll move on to Tuesday to see the extent of the devastation. But first, here's a brief look at a video essay of photographer Gretchen Canad. Some called it The Beauty and the Beast.
Yo, it's Polly-O. In the dairy section, there's a snack that's chillin' for all us homeboys with taste buds illin'. The best part of the pizza's such a treat, you're gonna find yourself doing it and chewing it. Now everybody sing. Polly-O string. Polly-O. Polly-O string cheese. It's the pizza cheese snack that makes your lips smack. So take it from the bird, Polly-O's the word. Polly-O string cheese. The best part of the pizza. Word.
Listerine kills germs. It hits plaque above the gum line. Listerine battles the gum disease, gingivitis in big fight tonight. It's a right. And another right. Listerine really rocked him. It's over. The winner. Listerine antiseptic. It says what it does. It does what it says.
Next, we turn to Tuesday, and life was not much better for many of us.
At that point, 118,000 RG&E customers were without power. More than 1,000 people spent the night in shelters, and County Executive Tom Fry took a helicopter tour of the area.
County Executive Tom Fry is bracing himself for the worst. This is the first time he'll have an idea what the ice storm has done to the county. Crews were on the job, and from the air, the damage was clear.
We got a good view of the transmission system and some spots where there was work being done that immediately related to that overall transmission system.
Fry says the priority is to get the lights back on.
We also got an impression that some of the distribution system, that is where it's going directly into the houses, that's more of a problem that appears in the city.
Now, while Fry surveyed the damage from the air, Tom Ryan took a look at things from the ground as the mayor toured his ice city.
I think the biggest concern we have is the question of public safety. There are still a lot of branches that have ice on them.
Ryan, along with city officials and school superintendent Peter McWalters, took a van ride through icicled neighborhoods. And yes, there'll be no school again tomorrow. State help will be coming in the form of work crews. Even state prisoners will help clear these trees. Ryan has even considered asking the National Guard for help.
It's a question of the more help we get, the quicker we can get the cleanup. I mean, if you look at the amount of trees and branches and limbs that are out there, I mean, this is not going to be cleaned up in a matter of a couple of weeks.
And if you haven't paid already an inconvenience, RG&E has hinted the ice storm could cost us in higher bills because of the expense of getting things back to normal. Vanessa Tyler, News Team 10.
Also on Tuesday, optimism from RG&E. Power had been restored to some of the main power lines. Here's what an RG&E spokesman told us on Tuesday's edition of News Team 10 at 6.
That is the good news of the day, that most of that transmission system is now back in. I say most of it. We expect the last bit of it to get in tomorrow. That's not saying that some more lines won't trip out, Gabe, as limbs continue to fall. But yeah, we've made some progress. We picked up some very important parts of the system today.
RG&E officials were hoping that power would be back for customers by the end of the week.
Power companies were coming in from throughout the Northeast to help our local utilities. Here's Donna Dede with that part of the story.
In Ogden today, like most places, if you saw this, it was out of the ordinary. This was more the norm. Utility poles snapped in two, wires drooping. And most of all, no power. And that's where a power cavalry of sorts came to the rescue. RG&E crews now work side by side with crews from out of state. In this case, they're from Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Up there, so there'll be nothing coming from the 115 back this way.
Well, the biggest thing for us is it's a strange system. We don't know which way it's feeding. Safety is our main concern.
Many of these men, like Butch Barber, are no strangers to lending a helping hand to a neighboring utility. He's a veteran of ice storms and hurricanes.
Yeah, the ice and everything is just, it's beautiful to look at, but you can tell they had a lot of damage up here. I can't believe it's the area it covered.
Today, they worked on main lines first, the stragglers later. Given the magnitude of this job, RG&E crews welcome the help.
And you got that backup, so it's really nice to have when you need it, and we need it. Even though you come from different parts of the country, it seems like everybody has the same mindset.
And from the local crews to their new comrades, a big thanks.
Real big. When we get done with this, we're going to probably have a party for them.
RG&E may be willing to throw these crew members from out of town a big party once all of this is finished, but you never know when they might have to reciprocate in person come the next ice storm in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Donna Didi, News Team 10.
Call it a sign that things are getting back to normal. That's right, phone-ordered pizza is on the road again.
Well, as you saw just now, the ice keeps falling on the cars. But other than that, it's really not all that bad.
All around town, people were back on the streets, browsing and shopping. At Allen's Hardware, business was booming.
Do you have smaller ones?
Okay, how about 6-volt lantern battery?
They keep coming in, and we keep trying to help them, but it's getting difficult.
People also spent the day stocking up on groceries, buying those essentials that everybody needs, and also emergency items that nobody seems to have.
My mission? Dinner.
For many, though, shopping was mission impossible. The only candles left were the wild scented variety, and believe it or not, this store has run out of bagged ice. Still, for people living in the dark without heat, being here is a treat.
I've been using a fireplace for warmth, and I haven't shaved or bathed in 2 days here. Case with a lot of people, I'm sure, though.
Slowly, things are getting back to normal, sort of. David Biggie, News Team 10.
For many people, tonight will mean another evening away from home in a shelter. With heat and power still off in many homes, several thousand residents are expected to fill local shelters. Last night, hundreds of families spent the night on cots in gymnasiums and churches. Also part of the assistance, free food and plenty of hot coffee. And here's a look at the potential danger from falling ice. Large slabs of ice dropping several stories today from Xerox Tower. Workers were evacuated from Xerox Square for precautionary reasons. There were no injuries reported, though.
Once the ice began to melt, once the weather started to clear, everyone had a better view of the devastation. We have 2 reports on the extent of tree damage. First, here's Ray Lovato.
Field Street on the east side. McNaughton on the west. Not as glamorous as Park or East, but one thing that made them different from similar neighborhoods in other cities, trees, the legacy of when Rochester was a nursery mecca.
A real sense of devastation, a real sense of loss. It's heartbreaking.
City-owned trees planted on the 500 miles of public right-of-way have a value, and the estimate of the loss is between $25 and $30 million. Especially vulnerable, softer trees like Norway and silver maples and ash.
There's nothing left to salvage on that particular tree. It's literally been totally destroyed. That tree will have to be removed. Now, when you look at the tree across the street, obviously there's been damage to it, maybe where the tree had been sagging down before, it's now springing back up.
The city's effort now opening residential streets. The real cleanup comes later and could take months.
It sounded like an explosion almost when the tree broke and actually hit the house. It just shook.
We feel, I think, a sense of relief now, just to get the tree off the house and to get back to normal.